Hi, my name is Milo Primo, and I'm excited to talk with you today about advanced directives and healthcare proxies for LGBTQ New Yorkers. So, this is going to be in the context of some sort of larger conversation around peace of mind planning, which is typically called estate planning. I like to call it peace of mind planning because I think it's important for us to get some peace of mind today, knowing that the uncertainties of tomorrow's are taken care of and taken into account, and that the things that we want and need will be arranged ahead of time. So today we'll be talking about advanced directives and healthcare proxies, but in another presentation we'll cover these other items as well, and explain how you can kind of take back power from a time where you may not have as much of it in the future. So why do this now? Well, we know that healthcare agencies and institutions and aging and elder care systems are not really built with LGBTQ people in mind, and that we need as much power and resources and support as we can to make sure that our identities, our families, our relationships are all honored and respected and dignified in these spaces, especially if we ever lose our capacity to make decisions for ourselves about our own medical care. So this is about keeping control over our bodies when we become incapacitated. This is about putting decision-making power back into our hands and into the hands of people that we know and we trust. And it's also about ensuring that loved ones can visit us, even if they're not biologically related or legally related in some way. And all of this allows us to have more peace of mind today about the uncertainty of tomorrow. So let's jump in. When we're talking about advanced directives and healthcare proxies, these two very simple but powerful documents combined put power in your hands in a really substantial way. So what are they? An advanced directive or a living will is a written document that instructs on what it is that you care about and how it is that you want to be treated in the event that you become incapacitated and can't make medical decisions for yourself. Okay? It's an instruction manual or an instruction piece of paper, however long or short you want it to be. A healthcare proxy is a document that appoints someone to be your agent. So you're giving somebody power to make those decisions for you if you become incapacitated. So you've got something that says that this person has authority to make decisions for you, and here's what they're supposed to do, right? So with these two things combined, you're in good shape. When are these things helpful? When you experience some sort of illness or injury that leaves you unable to communicate your needs and your wants and your preferences for medical treatment. A very recent example of this that really worried a lot of people was, being on a ventilator due to COVID-19. Not able necessarily to say whether that's something that you would want or what kind of treatment you'd want moving forward from there. So having something on paper and appointing somebody to make those decisions can be very helpful in that case. Same with comas that might arise from an accident or illness, being terminally ill or not expected to recover, having dementia or Alzheimer's or other sort of degenerative disease in that way. If you're under general anesthesia, and you can't make decisions, but someone needs to decide based on what they find while you're under, or if you are ever in a persistent vegetative state. So none of these things are very pleasant to think about, but if they happen, the thing that you really want to feel good about is that things are squared away so that you will be treated with respect in the event that these things occur. So let's talk about healthcare proxies. This is the first and foremost thing. We get to choose who's going to make decisions for us on our behalf if we're incapacitated. So a healthcare proxy appoints an agent. So this is somebody who's working as your right-hand person, someone who you trust to make medical decisions for you if you can't make them for yourself. A healthcare proxy is the document that does this, and it allows you to decide the scope of power. That person can make all the medical decisions or maybe just some of them. It also talks about how the powers change as your condition changes and ensures that doctors treat you how you want to be treated. How does it work? It becomes effective if at least 2 doctors have declared you incapacitated, not able to make your own medical decisions. And at that point, your agent has a right to see your medical information and records, and they can make decisions about all sorts of things such as artificial nutrition and hydration, restarting your heart, that sort of thing. The decisions are final unless there's somebody who objects to it and gets a court order that says otherwise, which is typically hard to do if you have a document that you've signed that says that this is the person you want to make these decisions for you. An important thing to note is that your agent, the person you assign as your agent, is not financially responsible for your medical care. So they can approve that you receive medical care that is going to run up a pretty significant medical bill and not be on the hook to pay for it. So just bear that in mind. As soon as doctors consider that you are capable of making your own decisions, the agent's power ends. So they don't get to keep making decisions once you're awake and stable and able to decide for yourself what you want to do. Their power only happens when you are incapacitated, and that's it. So who makes decisions for you if you don't have a healthcare proxy? According to the state law, if you don't have something else that's different in writing, this is the order of how it goes. First, if you have a spouse or domestic partner, they're the first in line to make decisions for you. If you don't, if you have any children who are over the age of 18, they would be next in line. If you don't have those or they're not willing or able to, your parents are going to be the ones who will be called upon. If not them, then a sibling or a close adult friend or relative who's familiar with you in a personal way. And if not them, then a court-appointed guardian who knows you not at all. Typically, it's just a social worker or someone else that is unfamiliar with you and what your wants and needs are. So if you're looking at this list and you're going, oh, I would really like to make different decisions than what the state would require, that's why a healthcare proxy is very helpful. So we want to make sure that you have exactly the person that you want making those decisions for you if this list does not appeal to you in any way. So who should be your agent? Well, you can choose from a lot of folks. One thing I would recommend doing maybe is starting by talking with some of your trusted friends, your family, and your loved ones, and have really frank conversations about these things. And you will be able to tell very quickly who is really going to be comfortable having those conversations with you, who's going to be able to lean in instead of turn away, and who's going to show up to be your best advocate if these things occur. And those are the kind of folks that you're going to want to bring on board to make these decisions for you. It's always a good idea too to pick an alternate or a backup just in case, and you can put that in your healthcare proxy in the event that the first person is not available or can't do it for whatever reason. You want to let your agents know, whoever you pick, what your intentions are, that you are going to name them as agents so that they know ahead of time, and the first time they find out is not when they get a phone call from a hospital saying that you're incapacitated. You also want to make sure that they are aware of your values, your beliefs, your wishes, which is where the advance directive comes in if you want to fill one out, or just to have that conversation and make sure that they're really clear so that if something happens to you, they know what you would want and they can act accordingly. So let's talk about your advance directive, your living will. You've picked somebody to make these decisions for you. Now, what are they going to do? Well, this is your opportunity to tell them. So in an advance directive, you can really be as simple or as thorough and detailed as you want to be, but here are some of the things that it can include. You can include your values and beliefs about life and death and treatment for pain. You can talk about what contributes to quality of life for you. What does that mean to you? What kind of activities are essential to having a quality of life that you want? How do you want to spend your final days, weeks, or years in the event that you are, sick or in a lot of pain or have a degenerative disease or a terminal illness, that sort of thing. And also talk about how your faith plays into these decisions so that they have a really clear understanding of where you're coming from and the basis for your decisions. This is really helpful because, no matter how thorough you are in your advance directive, there might be a circumstance that you don't cover, that you didn't even think of, that comes up, and you want to give your agent enough of an understanding of who you are and what you care about that they can figure out what you would do in that situation too, even if you didn't clearly express it in the directive. Some other things that you can include: what treatments you are willing to risk or endure. Do you want everything in the kitchen sink, or do you want, minimally invasive things? What treatments would you never want to have? Are you okay with getting life-sustaining treatments if it just prolongs your dying? If you're, on your way, do you want to have those life-sustaining treatments no matter what to stay alive, or would you rather let them go? When should providers switch to comfort or palliative care as opposed to trying to sustain life, and that sort of thing? That you can be very clear that Medical providers and anyone who visits you or deals with you in any way or your case in any way needs to use the correct name and pronouns for you and to authorize your agent to really enforce that. So say you have some visitors who just consistently misgender you, you can have your agent say, look, you can't keep visiting if you're going to keep doing this, and can bar them from visiting. You could also include financial burden considerations. So you can tell your agent that after the medical bills that the insurance isn't going to cover hits a certain, amount, that you don't mind the medical treatment being discontinued if it's not going to be able to sustain your life or bring you back from treat you in a period of time, so that it's not a financial burden on others who might have to carry the medical bills after you go. You can be more specific about visiting arrangements otherwise, such as who you definitely want to visit, even if they're not biologically or legally related to you, or who you want to bar from visiting, if you have any estranged family members that you don't want showing up. You could be clear about whether you want your hormone replacement therapy to be continued while you are incapacitated, or if it conflicts with any other treatment or medication, if it's okay for the doctor to discontinue it under certain circumstances. So you can provide for that in the living will. You can also talk about your comfort level of organ or tissue donation, either to other people or for the purposes of medical research. But no matter what you do, it's really important that you actually take the time to do the work to create this document so you can get the peace of mind that comes from getting it done. I know it seems really daunting to think about after just kind of going through it this way, but you don't have to go through it alone. If needed, get some emotional support for it. It's a hard thing to talk about, and it's certainly a hard thing to do, and you don't have to do it alone. So ask a friend or an advocate or a spiritual counselor or anyone else in your life to just be with you or ask you good questions, or just be present with you as you go through this process. Remember that when you're done with it, whatever it is, if you write it on your own paper, or if you use some pre-made forms that are provided by the New York State Attorney General's office or the Department of Health, you can look on their website to get the forms that they already have. You're definitely going to want to sign them in front of at least 2 witnesses who state that they watched you sign the papers willingly, that you weren't coerced into it. And also, those witnesses cannot be your healthcare agent, the person you're appointing as an agent, or the alternate. Again, they just don't want they don't want it to look like somebody coerced you into signing them as your agent and making decisions for you. Once you've created either of these documents or both of them, I would strongly encourage you to keep the originals in a safe place and give copies of them to the people that you're appointing to be your agent so they have it if they need it, as well as your medical provider, maybe your primary care provider, an attorney if you have one, and any other family members or friends that you trust, just to hold on to it so that if something happens, folks who need to jump into action have what they need to say. I have the authority to be here, and this is what this person wants. I just want to say that this is a big task, but it's something that is really rewarding if you get it done. If you need any other resources, check out the Attorney General's Office website or the Department of Health website, again, for more information and some forms that you could just easily print out and fill out on your advanced directive in your healthcare proxy. In the meantime, definitely check out our other video on wills and trusts and see if any of those pieces would also be helpful for you as you're doing some peace of mind planning. All right, good luck.